there was a time, if I fast forward this, just trying to show you how, like, man, I didn't know anything.
Right.
But and a lot of folks get into network marketing, don't know anything. But if you commit and discipline yourself and say, I'm going to make this, burn the ships, I'm going to make this work no matter what.
Right.
Then you figure out a way to make it happen, and you learn, and you become, this is my commitment. I'm going to be in this industry for my life. I'm not quitting no matter what. I know I'm going to go through some roadblocks, but I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to come out on the other end and be very successful, and I'm going to lead others to do the same. So it just became.
So your mission was not to be a big paid speaker. It was to see how many kids you could help.
Yeah.
That was the mission.
Yeah.
How many kids could I help?
Yeah. Who were like me, who was told they couldn't do something because of how I looked, like on a sheet of paper, or where I came from.
Your resume, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Eric Worre here, and welcome to the Excellence Project. Today I have speaking coach, trainer, mastermind leader of leaders, James Malinchak. He's here to talk about how you can get your message to more people more effectively, how you can help people see the value in your offer, whatever that offer might be, get your message communicated to the world. He's an expert at it. He's way better than I am at it. So we're going to have an extended conversation. I know you're going to enjoy it. So with no further ado, let's jump right into my conversation with James Malinchak. So James Malinchak, how are you?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. You're in Vegas sometimes. Do you live here sometimes?
Yeah, Vegas and Florida, half and half.
Half and half.
Yeah.
So both good tax states.
Yeah, I wish I got the double benefits.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
No, it's great. I've been here over 20 some years.
So I want to introduce the world to you. I'm sure a lot of people know who you are. I mean, you were on ABC's Secret Millionaire. You've really made a name for yourself on teaching people how to get paid to speak, creating financial freedom, marketing your business, running your entrepreneurial business the right way. You've written a lot of books, 27 books, which makes me jealous. I've written my measly one. You delivered 3,000 talks, 2,000 business marketing consultings, recorded 23 online courses, appeared 15,000 plus different media outlets, including for many of the world's biggest, including NBC, CBS, and Fox, featured star on ABC's hit show, The Secret Millionaire, viewed by 50 million worldwide. bigmoneyspeaker.com/media is where you can view all of this stuff. So how did you find yourself into, because I'm no good at it. I've just acknowledged the fact that I'm a teacher.
A great one.
Thank you.
Leader in this.
I'm a
world.
trainer. I'm a encourager. And I try to say this with just being self-aware, but trying not to speak a limiting belief into existence at the same time. I'm not great at selling from stage. I'm good at selling ideas. I've always been good at selling ideas, but learning the science of taking your message and then selling a product, what they call in our business back of room sales.
Right.
People joining a course, joining a mastermind, whatever. I mean, people have joined our mastermind. It's 30,000 to join. They just join. I mean, if they feel like it's valuable, they join, but there's not really a process for it. I don't really pitch it very often. You know, you got to be making $250,000 a year just to get in the door.
Yeah.
The value's enormous. I'm proud of what happens there. But in the network marketing space, people are presenting every day.
Right.
And they're selling a combination of products, because nothing happens in network marketing unless a product is sold to a consumer.
Right.
And they're selling an idea. This idea of being able to create leverage by growing a team. So I'm interested how your world might mix with the network marketing world and how the principles might apply, whether people are doing a Zoom or they're in person or they're having coffee or they're on a stage or they learn how to do a keynote. I was taught early on that the person with the marker makes the money. The person who's up in front of the room, those are the people who tend to be the biggest earners. So even though I was nervous, I was scared. And I also had a mentor say, if you learn how to speak effectively, you never really have to worry about paying your bills the rest of your life.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah. So I would love to know a little bit of your backstory and how you got into speaking and teaching people how to be more effective, because you've been connected with everybody, the whole world.
I've been very blessed.
Yeah. But, and you brought me a signed football by Hall of Famer Joe Theismann and a copy of his book. Thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
That's very, very cool. And you've mixed and mingled with the who's who of everybody. At one of our masterminds, you just happened to have Jack Canfield in town, so you swung over and two of you guys hung out with us for a little bit, brought a little bit of value, or not a little bit. You brought a lot of value in the time that you had. But tell me your come up and how you got into this space and how you've landed where you've landed.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming.
Huge fan for 30 years, back into the TBN days.
My gosh, back in the day, bro.
When I was a young up and coming pup, trying to just cut my teeth into speaking.
Wow.
It was my dream. If I could get on, I was teaching teenagers at that point, and if I can get on the TPN network, I can help so many more kids.
I wish I would have known.
Yeah.
At the time, that would have been amazing.
Yeah. So first, I never planned on speaking. I didn't even know it existed. I grew up in a tiny steel mill town outside of Pittsburgh, about 6,000 folks. Dad was a steel worker. Mom was a lunch mother serving lunches to us kids. We didn't have much growing up. I always say my dad, hardest working man I've ever known. And he only made $29,000 a year.
Wow.
But I grew up with the limiting belief, and maybe we can shatter that here later for some, that if you work hard, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
And that's just not true.
Yeah. Well, I've been making a list of things that aren't true. Like, only do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. That's not true. You'll be successful if you only do what you love. That's not true. Don't quit and you'll succeed.
Yeah.
That's not true.
No.
You have to get better every single day.
Yeah.
Right?
Or just
hard work.
Follow your passion and everything will work out.
No. That's not okay. That's not the truth. Ignorance is bliss. That is not accurate.
Yeah.
Or perception is reality. That is not true either. Reality is reality.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to get into the belief that hard work alone. Now, a work ethic will certainly serve you.
1,000%.
But it's not the only thing. There's a lot of hard workers that don't have a lot to show for it.
Yeah.
Because they didn't figure out leverage at some point.
Yeah. Then had to go get skills.
Yeah.
So but I grew up with that belief that you just work hard. You just work hard. You just work hard. And as a teenager, I learned it's not about working harder or smarter. It's about working right. You got to work right at what you're doing.
What does that mean?
So before my senior year of high school, the 3-point shooting line was coming into high school basketball. So I thought my way out of the small town to get a basketball scholarship, I wanted to play Division I basketball, was what if I became a really good 3-point shooter? Of course, everybody's going to need a shooter to hit a shot with 3 seconds to go, right? So I worked as a busboy, got some money to buy paint, a paintbrush, measuring tape, and I measured off a 3-point shooting line right by our house where there was a basketball court. And I was at my thing was I was going to work really hard. I was going to be out there all day before my senior year throughout the summer. And I was, Eric, man, I did 12, 14 hours a day, just shooting. I used to shoot at night because I used to think if I can make shots with it being dark, I can make shots with the gym lights on.
Yep.
So here I am shooting for 6, 7, 8 weeks, can't make a shot. And you would have thought I was building a house with all the bricks I was throwing up there. So there was a guy in our town that would sit on his little red swing right by the park, Mr. Mason. And he would just sit there and watch us in the playground. And so one day I blew up, threw my shirt against the fence, kicked the pole, kicked the ball down the street, said things I shouldn't have said. And he got up from his swing. He never said anything to me prior to this. Got up from his swing, walked over and said, "Hey, Malenchak, come here. I will tell you why you're missing your shots." And I said, "Well, did you play?" He said, "No, never played." I said, "Well, you coached?" He said, "No, I never coached." I'm thinking, how is this dude who never played the game, never coached, going to tell me why I'm missing my shots? I said, "All right, Mr. Mason, tell me," sarcastically. I said, why am I missing my shots? He said, "You're working hard, son. I'll give you that. I see you out here in the hot sun all day long. Your mom calls you for lunch. You don't even go up to eat. You stay down here and you keep shooting. I see you shooting at night. And in theory, you're working smart because you measured off the 3-point line. You're wearing that weight vest. You're out here trying to get strong." He said, "But son, you're not working right." I said, "What the heck are you talking about?" He said, "Your elbow's out on every shot. I'm watching you shoot curveballs. There's an old line in basketball where the elbow goes, the ball flows." He said, "Son, seems to me, maybe if you worked the right way and got that elbow in and shot the ball the right way, you might make a shot." And then he walked back and went and sat on his swing. Now, he never played or coached, but that made sense to me. Oh, never thought my elbow. So what if I focus? First part of all transformation is awareness. Once you become aware of something, you can change it that fast. So I became aware, focus, elbow. Oh, I can actually make a shot. Oh, I can make another. Oh, I could 2-step off the roll, hit a nut. It was amazing. Shot after shot after shot. When I started working right, focusing that I was working right. So ended up getting 50 scholarship offers.
Wow.
I was a pretty good 3-point shooter my senior year.
How tall were you in your senior year?
6'3".
6'3".
Yeah, little guy.
How tall are you now?
About 6'3".
Really?
Yeah. 6'3", 6'3".
Well, you play taller.
Yeah.
You act taller.
Yeah. I walk with my shoulders back. I think Eric Worre taught me that one.
I don't know. I mean,
leadership role.
You see, if I would have guessed, I would have guessed like 6'6".
Yeah, no, 6'3".
6'3", all right.
When I went to Cincinnati, we had 3 7-footers, a 6'10", a 6'8", 6'7", 6'7". I was one of the little guys.
So you were a shooter.
I was a shooter, yeah.
A pro shooter.
I was pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was pretty good.
So for a college 3-point shooter, like what kind of stats did you throw up?
So my freshman year, my coach gets fired, so I don't play. So I transfer. I go to play the University of Hawaii exhibition game. I tear my knee off on a rubber basketball court. Never played hardly ever called. Yeah. It's when they had those rubber courts, because in theory that helped your joints.
Yep.
But rubber on rubber sticks when you try to cut.
Yep.
Wood, you get a slide. So I made a cut, or I planted, tried to make a cut, and I shoot it and turn, and my knee ripped in half. Tore my ACL and my meniscus.
And that was it.
That was it. Yeah. Yeah. It was the most excruciating pain I've ever had. I equate it to the old, what was this TV? Batman on TV. When Batman would punch somebody and there would be a big starburst and it would go, pow. Well, when I ripped my knee, all I saw was like pain.
Yeah.
And then blacked out. And to this day, don't know how I got from the court to the training room. I assume they carried me.
Yeah, our son just tore his ACL, head surgery, and he's recovering. But
back then we didn't have all the technology.
Different recovery now than it was then.
I knew instantly, and you always it was like when Bernard King for the New York Knicks tore his ACL. It was 2 years of rehabbing, and you're just not the same. You're not as quick. You have the what if I twist it again?
Yeah.
Mindset. Yeah.
So have you ever wondered what would have happened if you didn't tear that?
There's a reason the windshield on your car is this big and the rearview mirror is that big. You're supposed to be looking forward.
Right.
You know, I mean,
But
I'm blessed.
Ultimately, was it a blessing?
Yeah, I believe I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Right.
You know, who knows where I would be, but I wouldn't be blessed to do the things I'm doing and the people that I've helped and gotten to know.
How far do you think you could have gone if you didn't tear it up?
I think I was good enough to play overseas.
Okay.
Yeah, I played with a lot of guys who are overseas, and I was just as good, if not better. NBA, those guys are so good. I've got friends that are coaches.
Next level, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a special talent. You know, when I got to Cincinnati, I was high school honorable mention All-American. Averaged 24 points, 7 assists, 11 rebounds, something like that. First ever state championship for our school. Played in all the All-Star games. Actually, did you ever see the movie Air?
Yeah.
So Matt Damon played Sonny Vaccaro.
Sure.
I've known Sonny since I was a kid. Sonny was from Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
He used to do a lot
What an innovator.
Yeah. They used to run an all-star game called the Dapper Dan Romball Classic. Sonny picked me to play in that game my senior year. So I was pretty good. I get to Cincinnati. I'm 12th man on the team.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big wake-up call.
Levels to this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to earn like the right to even see a little bit of playing time in exhibition. And then my coach gets fired.
So I got to tell you a college 3-point story.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready for this?
Yeah.
So occasionally I play poker. I'm playing in a 10-20 no limit game at the Bellagio. I'm sitting down next to this good old boy. Doesn't look like an athlete at all. He's in his 30s something. He's not in shape. You know, blonde hair, you know, average poker player. And we get to talk, and he said, "I'm bored. You know, let's make a bet on something. You know, what do you want to bet on? You know, you want to bet on ping pong? You want to bet on golf? You know." So it finally gets around to 3-point basketball shots. So I'm like, he said, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to bet. He said, "Well, how many do you think I could make out of 100? He's probably, I'm guessing 36 at this point or something. And I said, I don't know, half, maybe. He said, "Well, you know, what kind of odds would you give me if I could make 70 out of 100? College 3-point shots." And I'm like, "Dude, I don't know anything about you. I don't know anything about college 3-point shots. I don't know."
Seems like he's hustling you.
Well, he was just saying he could do it. He said, "I think I could do it. But, you know, 70 is a lot. So you'd have to give me some odds. So what kind of odds would you give me?" So his name was Clint. So I'm like, you know, and I look across the table, and a very good friend of mine who's playing in the game, you won't see, if you're listening to this, you won't see it, but he shakes his head almost imperceptibly. He just goes,
No, don't do it.
they just like, stay away. So he keeps going. He's like, you know, what about 80? What about 90?
Wow.
What odds would you give me at 90? You know, and think about it. You played the game.
That's a lot of shots. Not like 9 out of 10. It's 90 out of 100.
90 out of 100. You played the game. Guy's sitting next to you. If you didn't know I was telling this story, what odds would you give that a guy could get 90 out of 100?
Man, I don't know. It seems pretty almost impossible, but then I get leery. Well, this guy's he's probably not, he's saying it for a reason.
Right. Right. So it ends up he can hit 90 out of 100.
Wow.
He's won millions and millions and millions of dollars. He's gone up against NBA players, and he's just a 3-point college 3-point specialist. He says as soon as you see him shooting, you know it's over.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he put up $100,000 to some big shots, 700,000, that he could hit 70%.
Wow.
Nothing but net.
Wow. He must have perfect form.
And he hit it.
All net, no rim.
No rim, 70%.
Wow.
So anyway, so it's just like everybody I tell that story to, even basketball players, they're like, I still want to bet them because there's just no way. It's just impossible. It's just like we played with all these people.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. But
well, I've seen shooting coaches like George Lehman. Most people would have no idea. A guy never missed. There was even a guy called Crazy George who would put on shooting clinics and he would never miss and hit all net. And these guys could not play in the games. They weren't quick enough, but give them a ball, behind a 3-point line, they never miss and they hit all net. And even worse, put them at the free throw line.
Just forever.
Forever. I mean, you get bored. You'd go get a sandwich, come back, and they'd still be shooting net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
These are folks you never heard of. So it doesn't surprise me there was a guy like that.
So anyway, evidently he does that on the golf course. He does that with ping pong. He does that with every single thing. That's his whole life, is the little extreme athlete guy that doesn't look like an athlete, side hustle. And he made millions and millions and millions of dollars doing it. But that has nothing to do with our conversation.
He might,
but I thought
I was thinking?
anyway.
He might just use the poker room as a prospecting tool.
100%. 100%. Because I mean, I know he's won money out of that room.
Wow.
So you're in the steel mill, you leave the steel mill, you go to college, coach changes, you move, tear that knee up.
Tear my knee up.
And then what happens?
Fortunately, I had a plan B if things didn't work out. So I always wanted to be a stockbroker.
Really?
Yeah. My cousin was one of the top commodity traders on the COMEX exchange. He would always fly me out in high school and college, and I'd work for him. I was a gopher. Go for this, go for that. But I was right there in the pits, and I'd watch them trade, and I quickly realized
COMEX is where?
It used to be in the World Trade Centers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he traded in the gold, silver, and mercantile pits.
Okay.
And I quickly realized, Eric, I don't want to be down here. This is too stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched guys win.
Look stressed.
When they make $4 or $5 million a day and lose 10 the next, and I'm like, this is nuts. Like, I'm an office dude. I need to be in an office. So when I was coming out of college, I signed on with Merrill Lynch in Southern California as an administrative assistant, making $16,000 a year.
Okay.
Worked in a video store to make some extra money to pay my rent.
What video store? Blockbuster?
No, Montrose Video in Montrose, California.
Video.
I wasn't ready for Blockbuster yet.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But I went through, they wouldn't hire me. They loved my attitude. They loved my tenacity and my persistence. And I was a C student, and I told them, I said, look, you put me against any of your A people and I'll blow them out of the water because they don't have this. Right. And you can't teach this, right? You either have it or you don't. And you either want it or you don't. And put me against any of them because I'll match my I will against their IQ any day of the week. So they hired me, but they wouldn't put me as a full broker because I was very young. So they said, go through our be an administrative assistant for a year, and then we'll put you in the training program. I said, great. Well, you're like, literally, it was the minute it turned 1 year later, I was in the manager's office. Right? Like, hey, you said,
I did my deal.
Yeah. And he said, no, I told you 2 to 3 years. I said, no, sir. You told me 1 year. So I told you 2 to 3 years. So you either take it or leave it. Fortunately, back then, I was quite naive and young because I threw in my keys to the building and my garage card key. And I said, I quit. And I walked out. I mean, I never thought about like bills and all that. And I thought, well, there's Dean Witter's up the street. So I walked into Dean Witter, went into the lobby and said, could you tell your manager he has an unhappy Merrill Lynch broker here who just quit and he's going somewhere else. And this was my first stop. Fibbed. I really wasn't a broker. I didn't really have a book of business, but I knew that would get him to come out. And he took me back. Told him the story. I said, I apologize for not telling the truth, but I wanted to at least get in front of you. And I said, just give me a shot. Just put me in the program. If I'm not doing well, you don't have to fire me. I'll quit. And that's my line I've used my whole life. I'll match my I will against anybody's IQ any day of the week. He liked that. Put me in the training program. Went to New York City, was in the commodity building, the trade centers. That's where Dean Witter's headquarters were. Went through a month of training, came back. Long story short, at the end of the year, I was #1 in new account openings. And I was most outstanding performance for our training class. I was second in assets under management. A guy got a pension fund from his dad that was in a hospital, but I almost hit all 3 categories. And so what had happened was Dean Witter then flew me back to New York to speak to another training class, because every month they would hire 150, 200 new folks. So I went back and I spoke. And then when I got back to California, my phone rang. And a guy on the other line said, hey, my son was in this training class at Witter that you spoke to. He said he really liked how you talked about no cold calling and how you built your business. I have some sales reps. Would you come in? I want you to come and speak to my sales reps. And I said, oh, well, I'm sorry, I don't speak. I'm a broker. I just went back there because my company flew me back there. And he said, we got about 50 of them, and I'd love for you to speak for about 40 minutes. I said, but I don't speak. That's not what I do. He said, and I'll pay you $5,000. I said, I speak. I speak.
Right.
Mama didn't raise no fool. Right? And I went there, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I was like a -2. I didn't know anything about how to talk. Well, I didn't know how to talk. I never gave a talk. I was reading it, you know.
According to your standards now, you're a -2, but I'm sure you still impressed him.
I thought I was horrible, like literally. But this is what changed my life. So he came up to me after and he said, that was great. And I'm thinking, what were you watching? I was like, I'm not very good as a speaker. And he said, I don't care about any of that stuff. The techniques and the strategies and how you stay motivated and what you did to, get people to convert. That's all I care about. And that stuff was great. I have 2 other divisions in California. Would you go speak to them and I'll pay you the same $5,000?
This is what year?
Oh, this would have been, 1998, 99, 97, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I've never made $5,000 in my life, let alone 15,000. And then I really practiced, and the second one was a little bit better, and then the third one was a little bit better. I was like, this is really, really
You
cool.
weren't selling anything, you're just teaching.
I didn't know anything about any of that. I didn't know about books, selling. I was getting paid to do a motivational talk and tell people what I did. That's it. That's all I was doing. And I thought it was I still didn't even know that the speaking industry existed. I was just blown away. I'm like, I can't believe this guy's paying me.
It's the formula that I like best about what it is that we do that most people don't do. 1 is do epic shit.
Yeah.
And then 2 is teach people how you did it.
I say 9 words that'll make you wealthier than anything else. I used to teach this in all my trainings. Do something, package it, teach it, and sell it. And years later, that's all I did with the speaking. So what happened was I was like, I can't believe they're paying me to speak. This is cool. I get to help people. I talk for an hour and I get paid this. So I did some soul searching and I'm like, do I want to sit behind a computer screen and watch the stock market for the next 30 years? Or do I want to go out and like try to do this? And at that time, I was starting to try to do a book. It was for college students to help them with the transition to land their dream job, because that's what I did. And I thought, who better to help them than a C student, right?
Yep.
I wasn't the person who had straight A's. I wasn't the president of every organization. I thought, man, kids need to learn from me, somebody who's one of them, not somebody who's got 12 PhDs sitting in an office and doesn't have their pulse in the real world.
Right.
So I was starting to like put all my thoughts down on what did I do like to land this job first with Merrill, and like what are all the unique ways I packaged, market, and sold myself. Like, for example, I sent my resume in a shoe wrapped up in a scroll with a little note that says, now that I have my foot in the door, can you imagine what I'll do for you if you hire me? So I did cool things like that to create TOMA, top of mind awareness. And so I just started putting all that into a book for students who had this dream of landing their dream job, but let a piece of paper, meaning their grades, their ranking in school, tell them, or even people, professors tell them, your grades aren't that good. You better settle for something else. And I was like, screw that. you can beat out anybody for any position if you know how to package, market, and sell yourself. So here I was like doing this kind of little book thingy, like just typing out. I used to type it on a typewriter. You probably don't remember a typewriter.
Oh no, I do. Actually, the number one skill I learned in high school was typing.
ASD.
That was the best class, the most useful class that I had in my entire high school experience.
ASDF, JKL Sim.
Mhm.
I can still remember. Not crazy.
Yeah.
I can remember how you place your hands on the
On a Selectric. A Selectric machine.
Well, mine was, I was typing like this and then crank.
Yeah.
And current. And so I told my cousin, who's been my mentor my whole life, yeah, I'm writing this book. You know, it's crazy. This taught me the power of believing in not just people, but especially kids. He never said a negative thing to me. To this day, I don't think he's ever said a negative thing. Never discouraged me. You know what he said? Oh, you're going to have a bestseller. You're going to change so many students' lives. They're going to be thinking, Eric, I didn't even know what I was doing. And so at that time, he was taking companies that needed rebuilding, and he'd get a whole bunch of shares of stock and he'd build them up, and he'd bring Joe Theismann in as his spokesperson. Joe was on Monday Night Football at that time. And he said, you know what I'm going to do? My cousin said, you know what I'm going to do for you? Joe's going to be in Palm Springs speaking. I'm going to set it up for you to go meet him. And I'm going to get him to give you a testimonial for your book. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like little old me. Met with Joe. We went to the Cliff House in Palm Springs. Joe gets in my car at the hotel, and the first thing he said to me was, you know, I just got to tell you, your cousin has made me so much money with these business deals that when he says he's looking at a company, I don't even ask him what it's about or what it's doing. I just say, how much you want me to write a check for? And that's how, and the next day I went out, we had dinner. The next day I went and watched Joe's talk. And that was my first introduction to motivational speakers. Like he did a great job. I mean, people are loving it. He's throwing footballs.
And it was a combo of celebrity and kind of motivation.
Yeah. Yeah. And
because
but I'd never seen a motivational speaker.
Well, there's different like levels, right? There's the politicians.
Yeah.
There's the celebrities that just get interviewed.
Yeah.
There's the celebrities with a message.
Yeah.
You know, that teach too. Then there's the teachers.
Yeah.
You know, that may or may not be a celebrity or only to their little world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then there's the specialists.
Yeah.
That are super niche.
Yeah.
Then there's people who speak inside of their business itself, or, you know, speak inside of their particular profession. So lots of different types of speakers.
Yeah. Right? He was the celebrity, but also a really good motivational speaker. And I was just fascinated. I'm like, this is so cool. And I watched people thanking him after and him taking pictures with folks, and they had a great time. We go to lunch. And I was so naive. I literally said, hey, Joe, did they pay you to be out here? This was 1997 or 8. And he said, yeah. And I kid you not. I said, what'd they pay you? Like $50? I had no idea. Like that they paid, like, what'd they pay? $50? He's like, no, they paid me $10,000. How about fell off my chair?
That was when $10,000 was real money.
Yeah. I mean, now he's like 30 grand.
Yeah.
But he started to explain the speaking industry to me. And I'm like, there's a whole industry? There's a whole business? What? And he's like, yeah, with your book, you should speak for colleges and universities. And I'm the type of person, you only need to smack me with a 2x4 once. I catch it the first time. You don't have to hit me twice. And I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure this out. Because I remember I got those $5,000 checks, and I'm watching. I asked Joe, how many did you do last year? He said, 110, 120. I'm like, what? What?
$1 million.
You don't need a master's degree. You don't need a PhD. You don't need to be a good student. You didn't even have to go to the high school or college, and you come out and do this thing. So and I get to help people, and I get paid for that? What? And that's when I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I don't want to sit behind a computer screen. I don't know what I'm doing, right? But don't worry about the how. So you don't talk yourself out of it. Like I'm going to figure it out. The how's going to show up if I commit to it.
Right. And
I said, I'm committing to this, and I'm going to figure this out. And that's how I got started.
Interesting. Talk to me about your sister. Vicki.
Yeah, my inspiration.
Yeah. And how did that change things?
Man, I remember like it was yesterday. I got a telephone call from my dad, and he said Vicki had collapsed and was in the hospital with the right side of her body paralyzed. And I thought, all right, it's got to be a pinched nerve or something. I mean, we were just hanging out as brother and sister. First set of test results came back. It wasn't a pinched nerve. And then we thought, well, maybe she had a stroke.
How old was she?
38. And she had 3 kids, and one was about 6 or 7 months at the time. For second set of test results came back. It wasn't a stroke. And a few days went by, and I couldn't reach her on the phone in the hospital. Finally, I got connected to the room, the new room that they put her in. She answered, and I said, Vicki, hey, how are you? And she said, did you hear? And I got all excited even more. I said, you're coming home, right? They figured it out. Everything's cool. You're coming home. And she said, no, little brother, I got a brain tumor. And the doctors say I got about 3 months left. I didn't know what to do, man. I was like, what? I never expected to hear something like that. You know, we expect it's other people's family, but you never like really think it's your own. Mm-hmm. And I was just with her, and everything was cool. Like, what? Like, I'm like, what? And Eric, seriously, I hope you or anybody watching this never or listening never experiences what I experienced next. I hope I never experience it again, because it was the freakiest thing ever in my entire life. When she said that to me, I tried to talk back to her. Nothing came out of my mouth. You know, you hear people say they tried to talk and nothing came out, and you figure, oh, they just decided not to speak. No, I'm telling you, as sure as we're sitting here in your studio, I was talking to her like I'm talking to you. There wasn't a sound coming out of my mouth. I don't know if my body went into shock or because I know I was talking, but there was no sound. I'm talking like I'm talking now. There was no sound. It was the freakiest thing I've ever experienced, and I don't ever want to.
Just from shock, you think?
I guess, yeah. I don't. What else could it be? I was so blindsided by it.
And how close in age were you guys?
She was 20 years older than me.
Okay.
But she was almost like a second mom.
Yeah, yeah.
Very tight. She's almost like a soulmate in a way. As a a sister and a brother, we were very tight. And 3.5 months later, she went on and passed away. And it taught me a very valuable lesson, man. Life's about that long. Life is about that long to not enjoy what you want to enjoy in life, do what you want to do, stay away from people that, aren't enriching your heart, mind, soul, and spirit. And that changed my whole life. And it also taught me the value of time. Like, I don't think enough people, this is what I teach my students all the time, place an emphasis on time. Like, don't ever disrespect your time, devalue your time. Don't let people bring their nonsense, their BS, their noise into your time, because essentially they're stealing your life. Think about this. Every minute, every second that you allow that to go on is a second or a minute. You don't get back the rest of your life. You don't get a do-over on that minute.
Right.
And that was the big thing that I think I learned. 2 things. 1, that you never know, life is short, so you better enjoy your life. And number 2, don't waste your time, man. Like, don't let any of that junk and nonsense and garbage come into your time, because it's stealing your life. Those are the lessons I learned from Vicki. So, yeah, it's amazing. I'll tell jokes and all kind of stories. I tell the story about Vicki. I can't tell you how many people come up to me after that story, more than any story or any joke, and say, thank you for saying that. I'm going through that now with my sister or my cousin or my mom or grandma or grandpa.
A lot of stuff going on, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in our society, but I mean, it's just popping up everywhere, it seems like.
She's my inspiration, man.
Yeah.
I tell that story for a reason.
Yeah.
So thank you for asking for it, because I know it allows me to have her live on and empower somebody.
It all matters.
Yeah.
So you take all of this, you meet with Joe.
Yeah.
And you go, I'm going to figure this out. Did you start by kind of going to the colleges and schools?
Man, I started with something called a phone book and yellow pages.
Did you learn that from the Dean Witter days?
Smiling and dialing. Put a mirror on your desk so you smile when you talk to me. I opened the yellow page and I just started cold calling colleges and universities in Southern California, asking like, hey, who books speakers? They had no idea. The 800 number, they're like connecting me to the custodian and, the nurse's office and the library, and they had no idea. So somehow I got connected one time to a business professor's office. And I said, hey, I would love to come in and speak to your students. I was just pitching myself. I really didn't know. I wasn't expecting to be paid. I just wanted to go talk. And he said, we don't do that kind of thing. I have a class and we don't really do that. And this is so important. I said, well, I wrote this book. And he said, wait, you wrote a book? What's your book about? So it's because now I had self-published it, by the way, at the local print shop for like $8 a pop.
Sure.
Because I didn't know about self-publishing. And I said, it's called From College to the Real World, Street Smart Strategies for Landing Your Dream Job and Creating a Successful Future. And I teach the average everyday C student how to beat out A and B students and those who look better than them on a sheet of paper, meaning a resume. He said, you're an author? You wrote a book? I said, yeah. So, well, why don't you come in and talk to my class then? And that taught me a lesson. That a lot of folks don't like to book speakers. They like to book authors who speak on the subject of the book.
It's so fascinating. Do you remember Paul J. Meyer?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to have Success Motivation Institute program, right?
Yeah, all the programs.
Yeah, I loved it.
So he convinced me to adopt a limiting belief. He was a billionaire. He had Success Motivation Institute, and he sold these different audio programs and programs all over the world and made a fortune. Yeah. And he said, don't ever write a book. Because why would you give away for $10, $20 what you could sell for $1,000?
Mm-hmm.
And I bought that story until I was 45 years old.
Wow.
And more older than that, 47 years old. Maybe even longer than that. Before I wrote GoPro, I just said, you know what? I've got to get this book out of my brain and onto paper. People need it. And Mr. Meyer, if you're right, then you're right. But I'm at least getting it out there. And it changed the whole game. Oh. Everybody wanted to bring in the GoPro guy.
Yeah. Well, and
it wasn't just some average guy. We sold 5 million copies of that book.
I was going to say like 3 or 4. Wow, that's amazing. 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at all those lives you impacted who would have never found out about you.
I mean, I wouldn't have got booked. I wouldn't be a consultant. Yeah. I wouldn't have the same voice. I wouldn't have the same credibility. So he was so wrong. This billionaire was so wrong when it came to this idea of, so long as you have something valuable to say. Yeah. Sometimes people write a book just because they get bored and, or whatever. And there's a lot of vanity books out there that have no real need to be out there. Mm-hmm. But if there's a need and if you have the knowledge to fill that need, get it on paper. For me, I love being an author, but I don't consider myself a writer.
Right. Me too.
Really, after 33 books?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's such hard work. Because I could speak.
Yeah.
I could, give me 8 hours and I could circle any topic. I don't need any notes. I don't need anything.
You're amazing.
And I can circle that topic and I can have them fully understand by the time we're done and excited about it. Then I'll leave with a whole book full of notes. But if you ask me to write that thing that's permanent, in the way I write it down, in the order that I put it in, that it has to have a flow to it. And I think you probably noticed that there's a musicality to books. There's a rhythm to a properly done book that is a unique thing. It's like putting together this massive puzzle, taking all the stuff that you learned. What do What do you add? What do you don't add? When do you put a story in? When do you not? When do you put, when do you source some other piece of it or whatever? Anyway, but I'm so glad I finally ignored his advice.
Yeah.
And got that book out. I have 6 others in my head that need to get out as quickly as possible. Yeah. I admire you for putting 33 of them out there.
Yeah. Now I say I've authored 33 or 27 actually.
Okay.
27. I didn't say I wrote them.
Ah.
I'm like you. I'm a good speaker and communicator. I hate writing. So we transcribe all of my talks.
Really?
And then I move pieces around and I clean them up.
I've tried to do that, and it didn't work for me. I've used like 6 different ghostwriters. It just never worked. I just have to put my head down and just do it. So
think about this.
That's my challenge, is to challenge myself. Like I've challenged my body, like I've challenged different parts of my life. That is, like in video games, there's to beat the level, you have to beat the boss.
Yeah.
Of the level. The next book is the boss.
Yeah.
That I have to conquer to get the next book out into the marketplace. But I will do it.
Think about this, that next book. There could be 5 million or more people out there that
100%
they're not being helped by it.
100%. No, believe me, I know it's selfish not to do it.
That's the way I look at it for myself.
Yeah.
If I help one person, for me, it was good.
Yeah.
My purpose was served.
Yeah.
I help, like I wrote a book, Teenagers Tips for Success, how to be successful as a teenager, man. If I get one kid off of drugs, it's good enough for me. I don't need to go sell millions of them.
Right.
I would love to, because that means more kids have it. But
right.
Boy, if I get one and they get off of drugs, that might save that kid's life. That's the way I look at it.
So you go to this professor and you turn him around by saying, I'm an author.
And I'm very perceptive because my antennas are up. And I'm like, oh,
that made a difference.
I catch the message. I got it.
Yeah. So you went and spoke to that group. How'd it go?
Yeah, there were probably, 25 kids. And I just taught them all these unique ways. And then I said, hey, we only had 50 minutes here. I mean, I got a lot more in the book. And if you think this was helpful, imagine if you got all these other ways. And it was the most amazing thing because 10 of them gave me $10 for the book. Eric, I went outside after it went into the bathroom. I looked under the stalls. Nobody was in there. And I started jumping up and down. I said, I can't believe I just made $100. And then I started doing the math. Wait a minute. I do this 50 more times. I'm rich. Well, I did it about 80 times before I ever figured this out. A guy, after the 80th, 81st, second time.
All at universities.
2-year call. Anybody would let me come in. I'd call business professors now and say, hey, I'm the author of.
Yep.
I'd love to be able to come in and talk to your students.
I want to give back.
I want to give back. I'll even send you a copy of the book if you want to see it ahead of time. Most of them didn't care about that. It was like they believed I was an author.
Yeah, they were bringing value to their students.
Yeah, but it was the book. I had to change my pitch, my approach. I wasn't a guy who wanted to speak now. I was the author of. I caught the message, right? I didn't have blinders on and say, no, I'm just going to keep doing it this way. I had the blinders off and I was, learning, receptive. And so that was my pitch, my opening. And so 81st person, after I did a talk for his class, said, do you know our campus pays people to come in and do what you just did for free? I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that? I probably wouldn't have charged because I hadn't gone there in my mind yet.
Right, no. It's hard.
But he started to explain that to me. And I was like, what? Yeah, there's somebody called the Student Activities Coordinator. They have a budget on campus. It's to bring activities to the campus. And every kid who goes to school pays an activities fee, so there's always money there, right? As long as kids go to school, there will always be money, and this activities fee will be there because it always gets paid. No matter if you're on scholarship, they do financial aid, they're working 3 jobs, it doesn't matter. They must pay that activities fee. They don't see it because it's in all of their charges. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, okay, well, I catch the message, right? There's a student activities coordinator. So then I started going on calling schools, asking for the student activity coordinator.
And what did that pay?
My first paid talk, because I didn't really know what I was doing, was $2,500. Nickel State, Thibodaux, Louisiana.
Could you sell books? Did they let you sell books too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sit in the back, sign them afterwards or something?
Yeah. Like I remember the first time a kid came up and asked me to autograph the book, autograph it. And I'm like, I almost talked her out of it. I'm like, why would you want my autograph? Because we don't really think like that, right? Like, and
right.
I teach my students, look, if that makes somebody's day or puts an impact, you may not think you're there yet because you're just starting, but that might change that person's life, man.
Sure.
Sign the book.
For sure.
Sign the book. Take a picture with them. Hug them. They may be thinking about committing suicide. You never know what people are going through. So yeah, and then I just started learning. So if I wanted to fast forward it, now I know most organizations, most groups have 3 budgets where they have money to pull money out of there and buy books. They have speaker budgets, but then they have these other budgets. They have either a continuing education budget, a learning materials budget, or a T&D, training and development budget. So think about if I've got a company and I'm going to send 100 people to a hotel to learn from an outside seminar company, I'm usually pulling money out of the training and development budget, continuing education budget, or learning materials budget to send them out to the old, like Fred Pryor, Career Track, et cetera, right? National Seminar Company. And buying 3-ring binders, right? Buying all this stuff coming out of those budgets. So then I got smart. Okay, wait a minute. So I can get a speaker fee and I can have 500 book spot and double my fee. So I started at the fee of $2,500, then went to 5, then $7,500, then 10, and then I'm pulling this money for these books. And then I'm like, well, wait, how do I maximize every transaction? So then I'm doing add-ons. Hey, how about a second talk while I'm there? I'll charge you half the fee. What other departments are there while I'm there that those departments might bring me in for those students, like director of Greek life for all the fraternity and sorority. So now I could go, there was a time, if I fast forward this, just trying to show you how, like, man, I didn't know anything.
Right.
But and a lot of folks get into network marketing, don't know anything. But if you commit and discipline yourself and say, I'm going to make this, burn the ships, I'm going to make this work no matter what.
Right.
Then you figure out a way to make it happen. And you learn and you become, this is my commitment. I'm going to be in this industry for my life. I'm not quitting no matter what. I know I'm going to go through some roadblocks, but I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to come out on the other end and be very successful. And I'm going to lead others to do the same. So it just became.
So your mission was not to be a big paid speaker. It was to see how many kids you could help.
Yeah.
That was the mission.
Yeah.
How many kids could I help?
Yeah. Who were like me, who was told they couldn't do something because of how I looked, like on a sheet of paper or where I came from.
Your resume, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in and say, I hope you're getting value from everything that we do at the Excellence Project. And if you do, make sure to follow us on all the social platforms. If you look up Eric Worre or the Excellence Project, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, everywhere where you get your content on social media. Find us over there. We'll continue the conversation. Back to the podcast. So how long did you do that before you said, you know what, there's a need? A lot of people have this same desire.
Yeah.
They have they've done some cool stuff.
Yeah.
They have a particular skill set. They figured something out and they could teach it to other people. They just don't know how to reach that group. When did you shift that in order to be able to say, and what's the name of your company now? Big Money Speaker?
Yeah, Big Money Speaker, yeah.
So BMS, Big Money Speaker. When did you shift to Big Money Speaker that you were going to teach people how to find their audience, reach their audience, get paid to speak for their audience, and then be able to sell to that audience? Yeah. When did that happen?
It's a great question. So I never planned on teaching. Once I really figured this out, there are a lot of folks who said, like, I did 100 talks last year. And I always said, how many of those were paid? There's a difference between speaking and getting paid to speak, right? I mean, you know that, right? There are a lot of posers out there that say, I did a bunch of talks. I'm like, what'd you make? How many talks did you get paid for?
Right.
In my heyday, I wasn't doing 100 talks. I wasn't doing 150 talks. I was doing 150 locations. So I could go to Valencia Community College in Orlando, Florida. They have 6 campuses. I could do 6 talks, get 6 checks, plus books, plus add-ons. So I can go to one location and come home with like 12, 15 checks. In my heyday, back when I was pumped. I was a road warrior.
Yeah.
Seattle Tuesday, Los Angeles Wednesday, Tallahassee Thursday.
And you single at the time?
Oh, yeah. I was young, single. I mean, I was
just never cranking it out.
Oh, I mean, I thought it was the greatest. I thought I was a rock star. I'm like, I get to help people and they pay me and I get to motivate and teach. This is the greatest.
You get to meet cool people.
This is the greatest thing ever. Like, this is the greatest thing ever. I cannot believe God's letting me do this. This is amazing. And so, so what had happened was people started finding out, like, wait, you're that. They started calling me that college speaking guy. And so, being smart, I started branding myself, James Malinchak. Yes, that college speaking guy, because that's how everybody. I always say you have to listen to how people speak about you,
right?
So they started asking me to teach them. At the time, I was making $100,000 a month, speaking at colleges and universities. I would have certain like well-known association speakers who found out I spoke for college students and would say this: "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're speaking for students. I know there's no money. Could I buy you a hamburger?" And I never said anything.
I'm doing good.
I'm doing all. I just found out. I always say, look, I'm not a great, even to this day, I'm not a great speaker. I'm just really good at finding the people who have the money. So where all the budgets are. I know who's got the money, the budgets. I know.
Even the people in the room.
No, yeah.
Who's got the money?
Yeah. So what had happened was originally I started getting asked to teach the college and university markets. So I threw my first seminar at the Gold Coast Casino out here in Vegas in the basement.
Really?
I didn't know how to throw a seminar.
My first one was at Monte Carlo.
Oh, well, you were big time.
For 200 people. I
had 12.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't know how to market. I didn't know anything about charging. You used to have to mail me a check. I never took credit cards. I mean, this is how I started my first seminar. But the reason, so to your answer, is people started asking me how I did it. And so my first seminar, Eric, I taught in a t-shirt and shorts because I didn't even know you're supposed to dress up. I didn't know. I never did I'm out here speaking. I don't know about these seminar things. And so then I started getting called. I got called by Jack Canfield.
Yep.
Hey, I heard you are the college speaking guy. How do you get booked at colleges? I got called by Mark Victor Hansen. Hey, man, how do you get booked at these colleges and these universities? And so all these folks started asking me how I did it. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm helping some amazing big time people. And I'm like, so I thought,
and did they want to do the same?
All they knew.
Or were they trying to, like Jack and Mark, for example, were they just trying to get more Chicken Soup for the Soul books out at the time?
No, they wanted to speak more, which every speaker wants to do.
Sure.
And they would see my schedule on my website and they knew I was making these fees. And they were like, how do you get paid this? They don't have any money there. That was the misconception. So that's how I started.
You figured out the budgets and they didn't.
I did.
You knew where the money was.
That's all it was. And then they all, like Mark used to run Mega Speaking Empire Seminar and he would ask me to come and speak. I remember, if you want to know how I got into platform offering, Mark said, hey, I want you to come and speak at my Mega Speaking Empire. I said, great, here's my fee. Because I didn't know about platform offering. And he said, no. We don't pay fees. You come and speak, and then at the end, you can offer something. I'm like,
and then you do a split. You do a split or something?
Yeah, but I didn't know any of that.
Right.
I'm a fee-paid speaker. I don't know this stuff. And so I was like, well, I'm not coming. You're not paying me a fee, I'm not coming. I got all these schools that'll pay me.
Sure.
And then he's like, well, but you could offer something, and then they could come to that. And I said, well, I got this little 12-person training. Could I offer that? Because the training was $2,500.
Right.
And he said, that'd be perfect. I said, great. And then he said, and whatever you sell, I get half of that. I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I didn't know any of this.
Because he was taking all the risk.
Exactly. Yeah. So I said, well,
a lot of risk in putting on a public event.
I didn't know any of that. I had no idea. So I said, how many will you have there? He said, we're going to have 500. And Eric, I kid you not, I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe 500 people are about to buy my $2,500 package. I was clueless. I had no idea. So I thought, even if I have to give 50%, that's still
Big money.
That's crazy money. Yeah. So I went there, spoke, made my offer. I went to the back table after. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I saw other speakers. There were guys like Dan Kennedy there and John Childress, an old real estate training guy. And I saw they all said, hey, I'll see you at the back. So I said, hey, I'll see you at the back. I went to the back table. 80 or 90 people came back. They're hugging me. Said, man, this was the best. I took 12 pages of notes. Great. You coming to my training? Nah, I'm going to go to Dan Kennedy. What? One after the other. 0 enrolled with me. 0.
That had to suck.
I'm not sure what percentage that is, but that ain't good. 0 of 500.
And why do you think? What did you figure out that told? Because those are the numbers that I'm used to getting.
0?
No, not 0. But I train my butt off, and I end up, I just want to transfer the information, so I don't have one thing leading to another thing usually. So, and I think some of it's self-worth, honestly, or the lack of self-worth. My wife's been working on me for 15 years, is learning how to ask. Like, to this day, I don't ask for my speaking fees. I'm one of the highest paid speakers in the world.
Yeah, you're huge.
But I don't ask for it because they'll give me some story and I'll just say, yeah, well, we'll just do it, And she's just like, nope, here's the fee, and this is what it is, and take it or leave it, plus the jet.
And they probably take it.
And they take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so tell me what that felt like, number one. And number two, how did you pivot?
I'm standing there and I started to get a really bad attitude. Here's what went through my mind. What is wrong with these people? Right? I just spoke for 90 minutes.
I kind of feel the same way. It's just like, because I'm logical. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I have a solution.
Yeah.
Here's what it is. Here's the price. Here's a payment plan.
Yeah.
And if you're smart, you'll get it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's enough. And I've realized it's not even close to enough.
No, because we look at an iceberg. We see the iceberg above the water, but that's only 10% of the iceberg. 90% of the iceberg's below the water. We have 2 parts of our brain. I've done a lot of neuroscience studying over 20 years and brain-based learning. 10% of decision-making is made above the water. Logical. It's logic what you said.
Right.
I get it. It's logical. 90% of decision-making is below the water. Emotions, values, feeling. So I'm standing there wondering what's wrong with this audience. My cousin, my mentor, his words creeped in my mind after about 20 minutes. In every situation, James, you could be bitter or better. You can't be both. Which one are you going to choose? And I thought, man, maybe 500 people aren't wrong. Maybe it's me. There's only one common denominator.
Right.
So
they're hugging you, but they're not buying.
And I watched John Childress with a line of people for a $25,000 program. I watched Dan Kennedy. And I'm like, I got a standing ovation. They didn't get a standing ovation. What the heck? I don't get this. So I went and I rolled in every one of the programs.
What was the biggest difference?
I could tell you what it was. I go to Childress's training in Nashville. First 20 minutes, I figured it out. He started sharing stuff, and I thought, here's what I said, and this is what I teach everybody now. I said, I got it. I speak, but I don't know how to speak. I'm up there speaking and talking, but I don't know logical formulas of how to speak, the right ingredients. I don't know how to bring the emotion in at the right time, get them to see the value, the benefits. I think they are because it's logic, but I don't really know how to do all this. And I went on a quest. It took me about 3.5 years of fierce studying because there weren't any programs around back then.
Right.
I was sort of duct taping stuff together. And I remember when it first clicked, and I did 32,000 at an event, which I was shocked.
What was the difference?
A couple things. Every audience has to say 3 things or they will not buy. 1, I can do this. Whatever he's teaching, she's teaching, I can do that. Number 2, I can do that right now. And number 3, I can do this right here, meaning wherever I am in my life. Doesn't matter if I'm single, married, have kids, no kids. Live on a farm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, live in a high-rise in New York City, meaning I don't have to make drastic change of our lifestyle and life in order to make this work.
So repeat those 3 things.
I can do this. I can do this now. I can do this here.
Do this now, do this here.
And that's just one component.
Okay. What's the others?
So let me show this example for the importance of that. I was on stage with a legend. I'm not going to say his name, but friends with you and I.
Mm-hmm.
I love the guy and adore him. He was selling a speaking program. I was selling a speaking program.
I already know it is.
He's a legend, so everybody would sign up with him just to be with him.
Yeah.
Until he said this: I do not believe that you deserve, listen to the languaging, you deserve the right to be paid to speak. Deserve the right to be paid to speak. Until you have done at least 100 talks. 1,000 talks for free.
Ooh.
What happens in your mind? I can't do that.
Big price.
I can't do that right now. I can't do that right here. I got kids. I got to make adjustment. I do 100 talks a year. That's 10 years before I deserve the right to be. I don't want to do the speaking thing. Nobody bought his, and I had about 80% of the audience buy mine.
He's you don't even have to say who it is, but he's one of the worst sellers from the stage in the world as well. Living legend.
I have told him numerous times. He always would. Every time we're on a program, he sees the people enrolling with me. 1, 2, if that, enroll with him. I had a friend with me the last time out here at Green Valley Ranch at an event. I said, watch. In about 3 minutes, he's going to walk over to me and ask if he can talk to me. This is probably like the 10th time he's done this. Sure enough, 3 minutes later, he comes over and said, hey, could I talk to you? I said, sure. We take a walk in the hallway. He says, I really need to get with you to learn a lot of this stuff you've learned over there. I said, look, I already told you, you pay me my fee, you come to my house, I'll fix you in one day. You'll never worry about it again.
He wouldn't do it.
He always wants to barter, and I don't barter.
Yeah. Yeah, he was too cool for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I've tried the same with other areas of his life.
Yeah.
So we'll leave him alone for now.
Yeah. I love him. Great
Me
person,
me too. Like I say, how many living legends are there? I mean, there's
can't
not
teach
that
an
many.
old dog new trick unless the dog wants to learn the trick.
So they can do this. They can do this now. They can do this here.
Yeah. And then there's also, so here, let me give another one. By the way, any network,
And when you say here, it's wherever they live.
wherever they are in their life.
Wherever they are in their life. Okay.
Meaning they don't have to make drastic changes in order to do it. Because we all have lives. We all have livelihoods. We all have a way of doing things. I mean, think about it. If you're going to do 100 free talks a year for 10 years, you got to get babysitters. You got to make a lot of change. Babysitters, time off from work, right? So when I'm laying out a presentation or I'm writing one or creating one for someone, every slide for a webinar, everything that we're going to say, does this communicate? They can do it. They can do it here. They can do it. They can do it now. They can do it here. And if not, we got to get it out of there because they're not understanding it and they don't feel they can do it. No matter how logical you say it is that they can do it, if they don't feel it, conversion's about feeling. Attraction and conversion's about feeling.
What's the balance? This is all very helpful, by the way, because you are one of the absolute best at this. And, I've talked to a lot of different people. What's the balance between bringing value in your talk and leaving value in your program? Because I tend to leave it all in the talk. And there's like, well, you already gave me 3 years worth of homework.
Yeah.
What's the point in going that next step and spending that extra money to be in that mastermind or being part of that program? Because here's what I do know.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much they can absorb in that talk.
Sure.
No matter how much notes they have.
1,000%.
And being in a program with the accountability, with spaced repetition, with the community, with everything else is going to help them. That's my belief system.
100% with you.
And I also believe whatever reason why they say they can't is the reason why they must.
Yeah.
Is that's my belief system, right?
Yeah.
So I tend to kind of hurt them by overloading their notes with stuff to do, go home to do.
You asked me about the Mark Victor Hansen's room standing in the back, 80, 90 people hugging me, tears.
Yeah.
I know now why no one enrolled. I crammed a 3-day seminar into a 90-minute talk. I overwhelmed them. So here's what happens. When I would ask them, hey, you're going to come to my 4-day training so I could really help you? What's their subconscious do? Oh,
I'm already overwhelmed.
Oh my God,
I have 3 years worth of homework.
My head will explode if I go to 4 days. Look what he taught in 90 minutes. So
how do you not tease them? Because I'm always afraid that, hey, these speakers, they don't ever really give you value. They're just teasing you. They're saying, oh, it's in my program. It's in my book. It's in my program. It's in my book. It's in my program. It's in my book.
Oh, I can't stand that.
I can't stand that either. And some of our good friends do it all the time. It's in this book. It's in that book.
I got 10 strategies. I can only give you one. The other 9 are in my book.
Yeah. It's just like, come on.
Cheesy.
That drives me nuts. So I don't want people thinking that I'm teasing them. I want to give them actionable value.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that if I get time with them,
sure,
and proximity with them, and spaced repetition with them, and put them in a community, and be able to dissect what is holding them back, and break through that, then I'm really serving.
1,000%.
So I feel like a failure
yeah.
by over delivering in my various courses and presentations. So how do I fix that?
So it's not about not teaching and not giving and not making a difference, right? Let's pretend you just kept it the same way it is now, okay? Here's how I would position the mastermind. And I don't know much about your mastermind and what you position and all that, but right off the top of my head, I would tell you the way I would offer the mastermind is here's what the mastermind is going to do for you. It's going to help you succeed faster with less effort, because those are two things everybody wants to do. They want to succeed faster with less effort. I'll bet you're not using that language when it comes to communicating your mastermind. The other thing, you know what the brain loves? Certainty. It hates uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't watched your mastermind offer, but I'll bet if I watched it, I would say,
I haven't even presented it publicly ever.
I feel so uncertain when I hear you, Eric. I'm not sure that I'm going to have certainty. So I would get you to talk in different terms. Use words like recipe, blueprint. This will help you to succeed faster with less effort, right? Step by step, ABC, 1, 2, 3. I've already walked the path. You don't need to figure it out. I'm going to take you by the hand and walk you through the minefield and tell you where to step, not to step. Watch out for this because I've already been there, and you're going to succeed faster with less effort, or you can continue to be a hamster on the wheel running but not going anywhere.
Right.
So there's a bunch of different ways to language and communicate it so that the mastermind, you could teach like, I learned all this stuff.
That's just one thing.
That's just one,
yeah. We have our GoPro event. We have, I have 150 hours worth of course material
amazing.
in a program or, in a what I call GoPro Academy.
I looked at it. I almost joined it. I'm not even in network marketing.
Almost though.
Yeah. Well, I thought, I'm not in network marketing.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing I said, that's a lot of stuff. When do I have the time to go through it all?
I know. So how do I pull that back and in a way that would help people not be overwhelmed by it?
I'd have to get under the hood and look at it.
All right. Well, we're going to have another conversation after this.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So of your books, If anybody was going to pick one of your books, what is the one book that is like, read that one before you read anything else?
Man, it varies, because if you have a kid, I'd say get the Teenager's Tips for Success book, because I really wrote that with a mission to help kids, get them to dream and start developing relationships and connections, and stop networking, start relationship working, and how to think about a career and how to set goals for themselves and overcome adversity, stuff we're never taught in high school or junior high. My flagship, I haven't sold what you've sold, but I've sold over 100,000 of the Success Starts With Attitude book. And that's been my talk for these corporations for years.
Success Start, the yellow one.
The yellow one. I wrote Millionaire Success Secrets when I came off the TV show, and has a lot of stories of my journey on the Secret Millionaire.
Which one sold the most?
The Attitude book. The Attitude or the Teenager one? Because when I was...
Those two?
Yeah, when I was speaking for a lot of teen groups, I had a lot of groups buying books. Like if I'd speak for 3,000 kids, they would buy the books and put them in all the registration bags, etc. So that was literally a labor of love. I just love kids, and I just want to help kids not settle for less than they're capable of becoming.
Yeah, it's hard, that journey, that teenage journey of trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life.
Especially today when you got the distractions of social media.
So much.
Yeah.
You've had a chance to work with a lot of big names.
I've been really blessed.
Humongous
You
names.
still pinch me. Man, I'm a still Milltown kid, man.
Crazy names. Whether it's the Pentagon or Michael Jordan or Anthony Hopkins, Rudy, my friend. I'll tell you a quick Rudy story from the real guy, Rudy Rudiger, from the movie Rudy. I went back to my high school in the year 2000 to
in Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I was a terrible student. And I had one teacher that had an impact on me, social studies teacher. He was teaching a leadership course for like juniors and seniors that were serious about moving forward in their life, and, big college candidates and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, 50, 60 kids in the course. And I said, you know what? We reconnected. I said, I'd be happy to come in and once a week, give them a little life lesson.
That's great.
Your laws of association.
Yeah.
And that what shocked them, these different types of ideas. But I had them watch the movie Rudy over the course of 3 weeks. And then I called Rudy and I said, hey, would you fly in just as a favor? And just surprise these kids and do a talk.
Wow.
So, and he agreed just as a friend.
That's great.
Cool dude.
He's a great guy. I've known he and his wife Cheryl forever.
Yeah. So he flies into Minneapolis and blew these kids' minds, because this was way closer to the movie being released. Blew these kids' minds. I remember one of the first things he did is there was a kid sitting in the middle, kind of with an attitude, had a hat on. And this was in a theater setting in the school. And he said, first things out of his mouth, he said, one of the things my parents taught me is that I would never have a hat on in front of somebody that you respect. And boy, did that hat disappear in about 5 seconds. But anyway, he blew their minds, and I was grateful for him.
See, he influenced through a story.
Yeah.
Which is something you also do when you're trying to move people forward to attract to you and connect with you and then convert.
Right.
Let the story teach the lesson.
Right. Yeah. So Anthony Hopkins, tell me about how you connected with Anthony Hopkins, and because I consider him one of the greatest actors ever. How did you connect with him? I've seen him involved in the personal development world here and there. How did you connect with him? Tell me an Anthony Hopkins story.
So, short story on how I connected. I used to go back east to get my dental work done because I had this really great dentist I've known for years. So I'm in Vegas here at my house, not too far from here. And I had this cracked tooth that happened. And I'm like, oh man, I don't have time to fly back there. And I look up on my bookshelf and I see a book called $1 Billion Smile by Dr. Bill Dorfman, the dentist from ABC's Extreme Makeover. I grab the book, and I mean, he treats every celebrity in Hollywood. And I'm like, okay, well, if he wrote I'm kidding you not, if he wrote the book on it, he must be the best dentist. Is that crazy? Plus, I remember him on the TV show. He's a really good guy. I love people. So I called up, flew down to Century City. He walks in, and this blew my mind. He already researched me and knew he researches every single person who comes to his office to learn about them. So he starts telling me about this youth group charity he has, this foundation. And, you know, I saw you're a top speaker. Would you come and speak for my kids? And we can't pay you because it's all foundation. And I was like, yeah, man, I'll be there, because I was going to try to start my own youth foundation. So I went and watched, I spoke and I watched the week, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is unbelievable, changing these kids' lives for a whole week. So I called him up a couple weeks later and I said, hey, I know we just met, but I know you have a problem. You need money if you have a foundation, because you can't support kids if you don't have any money.
Right.
I know we just met, but I'm going to ask you to trust me. I do this event, and it's coming up in December. We'll have about 700-800 people there. It's a speaker training. If you will come down and let me interview you and just trust me, I think I can raise some money for your kids.
So this is the dentist.
This is the dentist.
Okay.
He comes down, I interview him, and then I roll into an offer to donate to the kids. I raised $120,000 in about an hour. And he was perplexed. He's like, no one's ever done this for me. So I kept having him come back. After about the third or fourth time, I raised like $500,000 in these 3 or 4, 5 events. He started to become one of the guys. And I said, and the donations started to go down. So I said, we're losing the specialness. And I said, it'd be great if we can get one of your celebrity clients to come down and help raise money for the kids. And I kid you not, he goes, well, hang on, let me call Anthony Hopkins. I was like, wow. He goes out in the hallway, calls him, says, yeah, he can be there at the next one. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. Like, this is great. And so Anthony Hopkins comes down, nicest guy in the world. He even made a donation to the charity.
Wow.
And we raised about $150,000 with him there. So the way I did it was, if you make a donation, you're going to get a receipt. So it'll count as a charitable contribution, and you'll get to come to a private party, meet Anthony Hopkins, get a photo with him, which you'll never be able to do probably ever again. And that's how we started. So that's how I got in with Mr. Hopkins originally.
Wow.
Sitting on stage with him. Oh, you'll love this. Sitting on stage with him. And I asked him probably the dumbest question I've ever asked in an interview. I said, Mr. Hopkins, you're an Academy Award-winning actor, rated one of the top 50 theater and movie actors of all time. You are knighted. You are Sir Anthony Hopkins. Here's the dumb question. You've been acting for 40 years. Here's the dumb question. You don't still have a coach, right? He said, oh, no, James, I have 7. Eric, I about fell off my stool. I'm like, I didn't expect that. I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? He said, well, I have a theater movement coach, because you move differently in live theater than you do for movies. So I have a movement coach for movies. I have a tonality coach for theater, because you speak differently when you're in a theater versus if you have to speak into a boom mic standing on a neck. So then I have a tonality coach for movies. I have a nutritionist. I have a personal trainer. He started going through all these coaches, and I'm sitting there just, oh my God, this. So when he paused, I said to the audience, I said, do y'all catch, I hope you're catching this. This is Academy Award-winning actor Anthony Hopkins talking about he has 7 coaches. I know people that won't invest $10 in a book to be better.
Right.
And then they'll whine, moan, and complain about things. Somebody put their hand up and said, oh, he's Academy Award-winning actor Anthony Hopkins, therefore he can have those coaches. I said, oh, no, brother. You got it wrong. It's because he has 7 coaches that he is Academy Award-winning actor Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, that's a fact.
So that's my story. And I will tell you one other quick thing. I don't get real wild by celebrities, right? I mean, you know a lot of them.
Of course, sure.
They're just people. And my dad said, he used to always say, you didn't come into this world with anything, you're not leaving with anything. All you got are the people you help, the legacy you leave, and how you make the world a better place. And so, but there was a point where I'm sitting there and I was like, I got a little like goosebumps. because I couldn't believe who I'm sitting next to.
Right.
Right. And here's what I said in my mind. I said, I cannot believe I'm a Steel Mill Town kid and I got freaking Hannibal Lecter sitting next to me, baby. This is the guy that eats people. Silence of the Lambs. It was like, I felt like this is, oh my God, this is Hannibal Lecter.
Wow.
So it was truly great. He's an amazing human being. Tony, call me Tony. And I call him Mr. Hopkins anyway, out of respect.
Yeah, I interviewed Sylvester Stallone. He kept saying, "Call me Sly."
Yeah,
and I struggled with it.
I saw that interview. Yeah,
I'm like, you're Mr. Stallone or Sylvester Stallone. Sly feels disrespectful to me, but I know that was. He said Sylvester's like Sylvester and Tweety Bird. It's like that's what it was stuck in his head.
Yeah,
even though it's iconic.
Yeah. I watched that interview. That was great. I love Stallone.
Oh my gosh. What an artist.
Yeah.
Nothing I like better in the world. The highest compliment I think is for an entrepreneur is a promoter. If they're a good promoter.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's high praise for me.
Yeah.
But outside of that is an artist.
Yeah.
Of any sort. Doesn't matter.
Who's just really good at their craft.
They have pride in their craft, whether it's speaking, closing.
They don't have to do it. They
acting,
do it because it's who they are.
Athletes, a chef, a military leader, a government leader. They're an artist.
I feel the same about Kenny G.
Really?
Oh, I've seen him 20 times.
Wow.
Actually, one time was really cool out here in Vegas. Remember Lake Las Vegas?
Sure.
They used to do jazz on the lake.
Sure.
And I knew the person putting the whole thing on, and they had private little yacht thing after with him. And my one of my big thrills of my life was I got to sit down and have a couple beers with Kenny G. And just
good dude.
Just a nice man. Yeah. I mean, here's one of the greatest sax musicians of all time.
Oh, I know. I've seen him in concert. He's unreal.
Just the nicest, most humblest guy.
You know what I found out when it comes to big celebrities? There's only two stories. They're either the nicest person in the world or they're the biggest asshole ever.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
There's nothing in between.
Yeah.
There's nothing there just like, meh. It's just like nicest in the world or biggest jerk ever. I don't know why. Maybe people just want an extreme story when they tell the story to somebody else. They don't want a boring one.
Yeah. You're right. There's no gray area.
There is no gray area with some of that stuff. And I also kind of feel bad for celebrities of that sort because they don't get, their life's different.
Oh yeah.
They have to, we're just famous enough that we're really a big deal in certain rooms.
Yeah.
As soon as we walk out of that room, we're a normal person again.
It's a good life to have like that.
Yeah.
Because they can't go to Whole Foods.
No, they can't go.
They can't go to Hank's. Like when I saw you at Hank's, they can't sit there and eat.
Nope.
That would be a frenzy.
Yeah, forever.
And I always think how tough that must be to live like that.
How could you be Tom Cruise? How could you be Michael Jordan?
Where do you go?
You hide.
Yeah.
Probably. You can see why they sit in yachts off of the south of France or something.
Yeah. I remember being at the Mirage and walking with Michael through the Mirage, and soon as, like from the ballroom area to as soon as we hit the casino, it was people just running from tables. They had chips sitting there and they're running. It was
clout chasing. Everybody wants a photo.
It was something like I'd never seen.
Well, James, tell everybody, because look, first of all, how does being a great speaker and a great closer, how would that help a person in network marketing?
I ask people all the time. I say, hey, do you believe in what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, yes. I say, do you believe it AIMS, what I call AME, adds value, makes a difference, and enriches people's lives? And they say, yes. And I said, well, why wouldn't you want everyone to say yes to you? If you believe in what you're doing and you add value, make a difference, and enrich people's lives, why don't you want everybody to say yes? Mm-hmm. The problem is we don't communicate the right way to where we connect with folks. I don't believe you have to sell or close anybody. I believe you can make people come to the inevitable conclusion in their mind that I like this person and I want to move forward with him or her. And that comes through how you communicate. So if you believe in what you're doing, it adds value, makes a difference, and enriches lives, you have a duty to move people over that line ethically and honorably, so that once that they start experiencing your great product, your service, your company, they go, oh my gosh, thank you for making me get involved with this.
Love that.
And I don't know why people just don't believe that, and
Well,
therefore learn how to communicate so that
right.
you help people.
They don't know. They don't think that they can do it.
Well,
or they think it's for somebody else, some special person that.
Well, when I hear that, I said, well, you didn't know how to drive a car at one time. Right. You didn't know how to ride a bike. Right. You didn't think you could do it, but you got trained and you learned, you practice, and now you don't even think about it.
So we got a big fancy studio here in town.
Amazing studio, yeah.
And you're a great trainer of speakers. I wonder if we put that studio together and your amazing ability to be a speaker, and we did something around the world. Would that be something you'd be interested in?
Oh my gosh, man, dude, you're gonna make me cry. I got goosebumps.
Would that be fun?
I'd be honored. Yeah.
All right.
I'm on a mission. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm on a mission, and I don't know how I'm going to do it to help 1 billion people or more. Don't put a cap on it.
Yeah.
Or more.
Well, let's see if we can put 1 + 1 and turn it into 10.
I would be honored.
So in the meantime, how do people find you? BigMoneySpeaker.com?
BigMoneySpeaker.com, Instagram, Facebook, and
James Malinchak.
Yeah.
Spell Malinchak.
M-A as an apple, L-I-N as in Nancy, C-H, A as an apple, K as in Klondike, Malinchak.
Malinchak. Yeah. And BigMoneySpeaker.com has everything?
It does, yeah.
Everything that you need to learn more about what you do, your masterminds, your coaching, your get-togethers, your coaching, all the different things.
Yeah.
Thank you for your contribution. Thanks for helping me. Thanks for bringing value today.
I want to say thank you for having me, because I've
pleasure.
been a big fan forever, and you're just one of the really, really great souls in this industry, and I appreciate that, and I value that. That's why I comment on all your Instagram posts, and I love the fact that you're leading by example as an inspiration, and you are changing lives. And I know you kind of know that, but every now and then it's good to hear it from someone from the outside.
Thanks, my brother. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming in. And big things to come.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
So that's my conversation with James Malinchak. Big things to come. Just stay tuned. We're going to put some cool things together. In the meantime, go to bigmoneyspeaker.com. Check out all of his stuff. Check out all the show notes. That should give you more information so you can start on your journey to communicate your message. And every one of you has a message, has a gift to be able to bring to the world, whether you believe it or not. You do. You just have to learn how to be able to package that, get past your own limiting beliefs, and get there. All right? So if you got value from this, please pay it forward. Please tell a friend, share this with somebody else. But until next time, get out there, have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon.